What do you get when a group comes together to build something great? You get something unforgettable. But what does it actually take to build something great? It takes persistence, not taking no for an answer. It takes passion, being willing to give it everything you have. It takes a dreamer who sees things not just as they are, but as they can be. But most importantly, it takes many working together, which is why New Orleans is celebrating Global Meetings Industry Day. Because we've built something great in New Orleans, we're excited to host a meeting that can help change the world. Because when we host, conversations lead to innovation. We cultivate a place for commerce to thrive. We deliver impact that echoes through the community. We allow handshakes to break barriers and change points of view. We foster the spread of scientific advances to save lives. We've built a place where business gets done. We've created a space where real connections are made. New Orleans, we are built to host.
Today we're celebrating Global Meetings Industry Day across the country, but here in New Orleans we're really celebrating it because conventions, conferences, and meetings are so critical to our economy, but also they're just critical to how we move society forward. I think that too often we don't get the opportunity to celebrate how special it is to be the host of a really important meeting, to have 25,000 hematologists here sharing information, cutting-edge technology, the development of new treatments on oncological and hematological illnesses, American Cancer Research, cardiology, the list goes on and on. I think that it's something that truly allows people to come together, share big ideas, and move things to the next level. It's tens of millions of dollars annually to our state and local economy from just pure tax revenue generation, but the economic activities in the billions of dollars and the job creation that comes with it is really critical as well. The meetings industry, I think by some is seen as meetings that happen in the convention center, but the truth is that the vast majority of our meetings happen in hotels and in other venues across the community every day. The really large meetings are at the convention center, but it's this meetings industry and all of the meetings that happen that really drive the foundation of the economy, because these groups book entire restaurants. These books, they book the whole thing, they rent out the restaurant, and they use it for major events and activations. They use audiovisual companies. They use transportation companies, bus companies, and other small businesses throughout the community to service this event. And so it ends up being millions of visitors to our city a year and billions of dollars of economic activity that really forms a predictable foundation of the tourism and hospitality industry.
Our message is that meetings are important, and meetings really have an impact on society because advancements are made in science, technology, innovation, but in connections. And it's when humans connect, they get together and solve problems. And in today's world, that is so important. We learned that we really do need to get together face to face. That computer call is good, but you miss so many nuances, and you miss the ability to be with another human being and form a real relationship and a real connection. The meetings industry touches so many businesses outside of the normal thoughts of hotels or convention centers. They touch audiovisual companies, transportation companies, destination management organizations. So it's a wide discipline of business, and so it can appeal to so many different people with so many different skill sets, and they're real true career paths where you can grow and stay in this industry your entire career.
Face-to-face meetings, one of the things that happened during COVID is we realized how important face-to-face meetings were to drive economic good and social good. And what we've seen is that not only our mental health suffered, but businesses, except those that were truly online businesses, were suffering to get by. And what we've seen over the past year or so, even last year, the latter half of last year, is people really coming back together and driving meetings forward. There are some hiccups. I mean, for example, we've got, especially the foreign conferences or foreign delegates that come into our country, there's still visa wait times that it's taking a very long time, in certain cases over a year. So that's problematic for driving economic and outcomes for the country or for cities. But business is coming back. Our report that we did during the pandemic says we'll be fully back by Q3 of this year. Now, what we've seen is that it's coming back even faster than we thought. So we might very well be back even faster, maybe almost late Q2. You know, content is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. But really getting to understand and being with a peer and speaking about things that are impacting business, it's very hard to do that online. And so that's one. Two, it's about building trust. When you've got to conduct business and you're spending millions of dollars to drive economic growth, you've got to have trust in the people who will deliver for you. The third thing, it is about economic prosperity. It's about connecting with stakeholders in different communities. If you don't do that face-to-face, you never get to connect with government, with individual corporations, with all the various stakeholders that could drive startups, innovation in a city. So it is numerous. It's not just one thing. But truly, when you come together face-to-face, you are able to break down all sorts of barriers, whether those are business barriers, personal barriers, and societal barriers. As you get to understand each other, you get to understand perspectives that are different than your own.
So during the pandemic, we convened a fully virtual meeting. We convened 24,000 people online, and it was a challenge. And as we came back to a more normal place where we could gather in person, we wanted to come back and still offer that in-person experience where people can connect, they can see each other, they can talk in the coffee line, they can identify their new collaborators, they can run into each other and make time to go to lunch and really grow their networks. Networking is the number one reason that people come to a meeting, both virtually or in person. We've kept a virtual component of our meeting, but we understand that it needs to be a different experience. So we will always honor virtual attendees as they want to come. We'll always design an experience for them. We always believe that there will be people who choose not to travel because of carbon, because of price, but we also want to make a really welcoming place and maximize the experience and maximize the connections for those who can come in person. And then we want to be able to connect them with each other, right? So we want to be able to connect the in-person people also with the virtual meeting and continue to grow those networks.
Virtually can get, I think that we're all burnt out from the virtual experience. The virtual experience is great, but our organization requires a lot of face-to-face interaction. Constitutionally, we have to meet in person to handle a lot of fraternity business as well. So I think the advantage is to be able to have people come out their shell, to be able to network, to have families get together, and also just make it a family-oriented environment. I think that's why we chose the in-person event. That's why we chose New Orleans.
Well, like other cities, other destinations around the globe, when COVID hit, everything stopped. People were afraid to meet. They weren't allowed to meet, actually. There were restrictions from getting together as a group. And so all of that spending, all of that economic impact froze. And now as we're coming out of the pandemic, people are seeing that there are opportunities now to come together again safely. Conventions and associations are making their policies known that people are able to travel, and we know the importance of people getting together. We did some research as we came out of COVID on what are people looking for, and they're looking to get out. They're looking to re-engage with people, like-minded people, people with different opinions, to learn, to study, to research, to share ideas, and that's the magic of meetings. This is where this happens. And so we're so proud to be a leading city as it relates to bringing people together. Everyone's welcomed in New Orleans, and we want to ensure that that message goes out around the world.
Anything else that you'd like to add?
This is a very important opportunity for us to sort of show off the importance of meetings, but how it can affect each one of us who lives in the city of New Orleans or in the state of Louisiana or in any state in the nation. Because as these meetings do come back together, it will grow better communities, it will bring more tax revenue, which provides more city services and state services, and putting people to work.
This morning, I just want to welcome you to the Hyatt. I want to thank them for hosting us today. So thank you to the Hyatt team that made this possible. I want to thank our guests who will join us shortly on the stage, our panel guests to discuss some important topics with you today. And I want to thank the team at New Orleans & Company who really brought this to life and is bringing this celebration of Global Meetings Industry Day to a new level so that we can really celebrate the things that make meetings important, not just economically, not just because of the dozens of businesses that support events like this one and others that happen in our community, but also because of the societal impact that meetings, conferences, conventions, business events have. Just down the street, New Orleans Entrepreneur Week is going on at Gallier Hall. And this morning, I was fortunate enough to be over there to have a conversation on a panel about the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And that's just a small example of the power that meetings can have on moving a whole society forward, sharing new ideas, sharing innovation, and ultimately moving our community in a positive direction. I tell people all the time that not just is it important for us to win the competitions that we have when we join with our partners at the center and at hotels across the community to compete to host meetings. It's important that we win because it's important to our economy, but it's also an honor when we win because we have some of the most special people on the planet who come together often for their most important meeting of the year in our community where they discuss things that really, really matter and they talk about big ideas and take things to the next level. So it's our honor to host this day and celebrate it, and I look forward to introducing our panel to you in a few moments.
If we bring together people around the world, that we can solve any challenge, climate being one of them.
You know, I think there's nothing more exciting to me than reading about some innovation or development that got discussed in a meeting in New Orleans and is now spreading around the globe and having impact, whether it's medical advancement or scientific advancement or just economic growth that is stemmed from the collisions that just kind of happen when meetings occur and people come together.
I personally would rather that my surgeon go to an in-person meeting and learn how to do surgical skills than try to learn it on a Zoom call. Mm-hmm. Although, you know, not to say that there aren't fantastic opportunities for virtual learning too. And again, we talked about this morning, it has to be an and, it can't be an or. So how are you designing experiences, but also how are we designing virtual experiences?
Sometimes when they cross the stage, a lot of students don't have it all figured out, and we actually know that. So let's get ahead of the game and actually give them the tools and skills that they need to be successful before they even graduate, to be able to have internships and jobs, and to be able to be in corporate America, the medical field, wherever the case may be, to be the best student leader and the best person they can be in society.
When we were here last time, actually in 2021, we did a lot of work with community gardens. We were very interested in how we are feeding people, how we are offering communities, historically marginalized communities, opportunities for fresh fruits, for fresh vegetables. You know, what are we doing to kind of to encourage that?
Around 2008, the city of Melbourne, Australia, wanted to host the World's AIDS Conference. At that time, believe this, if you can, the country of Australia would not allow a person to go into their country if they had HIV. Well, how the hell can you, pardon the expression, host a conference if you cannot allow people with HIV to come into your conference, into your country? No doctors would want to come, they wouldn't support it. What the city did was partnered with government. And they actually got the country and the government to change their laws. They actually made a commitment by 2030, they would either eliminate, cure, or make HIV a chronic disease that's treatable. By the way, when the conference came there in 2030, the government of Australia was flying the red ribbon on their parliament building. They changed the laws. They reduced the stigma of HIV in people with AIDS in the country and actually around the world. They have also led in innovation for development of therapies and treatment. Today, HIV is no longer a death sentence. As a matter of fact, it's a chronic disease now that's treatable. That is the power of what all of you support every day. And that's what the power of this industry does. Both economically create jobs, but it does tremendous things for society. And there's so many of those examples you can
So
cite.
many of those examples.
Those are the things that make it worth it. Obviously, we're all about creating economic activity for our members and for our community, but things that change the course of history and the ability to host those and witness them is something that I hope that we never take for granted.
I want every housekeeper, every person that's in the business events industry knows that what they do, yes, but why they do what they do really, really matters. And it's about driving prosperity for this entire state, this city, but our country. And so I hope you all that are leaders and you get to come to conferences like this, you do inspire employees because their contribution is what makes things happen in our country.
And we have about 60,000 members, and we convene an annual meeting every year in December. We've done that for over 50 years, and we have been partnering with New Orleans on bringing the meeting here occasionally as part of our rotation strategy.
Why did you select New Orleans for your annual meeting?
So from a scientific perspective, there's a lot going on in New Orleans. There's a lot going on in Louisiana that's important to our scientific community. There are a lot of our member scientists who are doing work in the Gulf area or who are teaching in the Gulf area. And so we felt like it was really important to be here to also work with them and include them. So our strategy to rotate the meeting is very inclusive. We often see students from Mississippi and Alabama who maybe couldn't afford to come to some of the places we've been in the past. So it's a very welcoming meeting, and we really wanted a chance to include those folks too. But New Orleans is a fantastic partner. They have all of the things that kind of check the box for us for a meeting. And that means things like walkable hotel rooms. We don't shuttle, so we do want people to be able to find their way safely to a convention center or to a meeting, and that's wonderful. They have great food, they have terrific hotels, and just a really warm and welcoming environment, and our community has really enjoyed their time when we do come to New Orleans.
We're doing a National Founders Day. We usually do it every other year, so biannually. So we're doing it this time in New Orleans. We have just selected it. We're actually signing the contract this week, and we chose New Orleans because of the rich heritage, the history, the affordability, the partnership that we have with New Orleans, the representatives. It was just a great selection for us to do everything in New Orleans. Plus, we wanted to give back. Me being a native of Louisiana, I wanted to have the opportunity to give back to the state, give back to the city, provide additional jobs and revenue for the city post-COVID-19.
New Orleans is definitely a tier 1 destination. It's right up there with Chicago, San Francisco, New York. It's a very desirable destination. And in covering this industry, I've been to New Orleans numerous times for large industry events. They always cycle back through it. Everyone loves the culture. They love the food. It's an A-list destination. There's no other way to explain it.
The meetings industry is complex. People tend to think of visitors in one bucket, a tourist with maybe a lanyard if they're in a meeting. But meetings matter. Meetings help the economy move forward here in New Orleans and in destinations around the world. And in the settings of meetings, businesses moved forward globally. And that's an important thing. And problems are solved. Technology is launched. And so in the meeting setting, we really advance our world.
I hope that they have a broader understanding of hospitality. I think far too often people equate hospitality to leisure travel and to people traveling for vacation or for fun or for a family reunion or some other kind of reunion. A lot of our travel here in this community and really the foundation of the economy is the meetings industry, the professionals who come together around big ideas. And so I hope that they understand broadly that there are a lot of economic opportunities for businesses and for our residents in the meetings industry portion of hospitality. But I hope they also have a renewed sense of appreciation for New Orleans being a place that really is built to host these events, and that we take that responsibility to heart, and we also celebrate the incredible advancements that happen when people come together face to face and share big ideas, and that our community has a renewed sense of pride around how fortunate we are to be a place that people want to gather to talk about these things and to come together.
How can people get more information?
So you can get more information on our website or on the website at which is neworleans.com, or at US Travel, which is our major national partner that celebrates Global Meetings Industry Day around the country today.